Just let us know about your background, how you actually came into sports, and from where this idea came of to like you want to get into sports.
This is an interesting question. So, I come from a small town by the name Akola, which is next to Nagpur, and I always played sports. So whether it was gilli danda, or it was kho-kho, or it was football, it was so Akola did not have a lot of infrastructure. So whatever sport came along, whether it was in the gully or it was on the ground, we just bare feet went on and started playing. So that was probably the start of journey, and I always thought if I the two things interested me. One was sports, and one was how the human body functions. So I think a combination of both somewhere led me towards joining what I am doing today.
When you thought of pursuing sports physio as a career, right?
Um, in Akola, you either become a doctor or an engineer, and I was on the same lines that shayad main bhi doctor banu ya engineer banu, and it happened so that I wasn't really good at chemistry and physics. I was good at biology. And while I was studying, my brother in between during the exams, rather, he told me that Tariq, if you don't get too stressed, if you're good at biology, I think physiotherapy is something you can look at. And it is random. There was not a lot of thought to it, but I said a little bit of information from here and there, family and friends, and I said, yeah, this is probably what excites me.
When you thought of pursuing sports physio, like how do you plan? Like there are some friends I know, like Chetrali is there, who just passed out with sports physio. She wants to make a career in sports, and she's striving for that. So when you started sports physio and you thought of like I want to make a career in that, what was your journey like? What do you plan? The stepwise that which can be very much knowledge which will be good for a lot of kids to know if I really want to do something in sports physio, how?
Um, so, sports physiotherapy, or rather physiotherapy as a field, I think it's a people's field. Uh, for that matter, Bhushan, even we're dealing with human beings. So it is extremely important for you to be a people's person. Your ability to interact with people. So in Akola, I don't remember when I had my first phone. So social skills were very good. We did not have the phone in our hand, so we were never sitting in a cafe looking at our phone. We were always either teasing someone or making fun or sitting with friends. So you get to talk a lot, and I think that's one skill which I did not prepare for rather, but it came as a gift in the field of physiotherapy. So, because sports involves communicating with people, talking, leadership qualities, managing, adjusting. So, all of that was learned as a part of people's skill.
So these are the qualities which are required to be a sports physio. What I'm trying to understand.
Yes. These are the qualities of being able to engage with people,
Okay.
to understand people, to empathize with people. These are the most important qualities required to be a physiotherapist, and more importantly, a sports physiotherapist.
Okay. So what are the challenges like when you decide? What are the challenges you faced? Which made you? Have you ever gone through that, or you felt I think I've chosen the wrong field, or I should not have done this because of not only your mental thing, but something which was stopping you of doing that?
So college was very nice. I entered physiotherapy. I joined college, and I was very excited. And I said, "Let's. This is a very good course, and there's so much knowledge and information that's been shared." But the moment I finished college, it was quite a tough ride. You finish and you do not have um, immediate mentorship. You're searching for mentors in life. So that phase where I did not have mentors, I was trying to figure out how do I go ahead in life and what do I do. Do I working in hospitals never interested me a lot, but that was the convention. So you're searching for work. You're doing private work. You're going to hospitals. So that was a challenging bit, I would say, but it wasn't a great adversity. It was something, I think, because I have three elder brothers. They told me that will be a part of your professional growth, Tariq. So not even to take it with a pinch of salt, just go with the flow and just follow your heart in terms of where sports, what sports would you want to engage in, and what kind of work you would want to do. Just keep that at the back of it. I think that is what I want.
Do you really think that you need to be a good player to be a sports physio, or it is completely not connected to each other? Like many times it happens is many parents feel if my kid doesn't win in that particular field, there is no careers. For example, so sports physio is also a career, which can be even if you are a good player, or even if you are not excelled in that particular field. So does that make any difference to go in that field a little bit higher?
So if I'm understanding the question right, Bhushan, it is as a physiotherapist, do I need to be as a performing top in my field?
Sports. It is
in sports.
Correct.
There is
if you are a sports physio,
if I'm a sports physio,
and if you don't really want to be a good player for that, I don't think it's required that way.
So
it helps.
There is a saying in physiotherapy: love thy sport.
Okay.
So if you're a sports physiotherapist, let's say example you're for table tennis, of course you should know how to play table tennis. You might not. I do not know if I can land the ball on the opposite side with you, Bhushan, playing, but I should be able to at least touch the ball. I should be able to understand how do you stand, what are the muscles that work, what is it required for a table tennis player while playing. So the issues that arise because of playing, I can only address them if I understand the sport. And number two, very important, is the athletes that are involved in the sport, they can engage with you knowing that you understand the sport. So I think these two things are extremely important.
Okay. So next question lines in that same connection is like, what are the missing links to develop sports physiotherapy at the grassroots level? Like, what are the missing links you feel?
I think there were a lot of missing links when I started pursuing sports physiotherapy. But in the recent past, there's been a lot of awareness as to what does sports physiotherapy entail. Sports physiotherapy, I'll be honest with you, there is a glamour side to sports physiotherapy. That's probably one of the medical fields where you will see the physiotherapist is on camera. He's running or she's running with a bag, and you're dealing with sports stars. So it for a young, naive physiotherapist, it already becomes attractive. So I'm, for example, traveling with Bhushan to Sweden. So I get to travel. Then Bhushan is playing a match, and I'm addressing Bhushan's physical need or some injury that Bhushan has had. So that attracts a lot of people. But again, that's just the front page. The background work is extremely
important to
the background work is extremely important. I would not say it is tiring, but a therapist is like a mother or a father to the player, as far as the sport goes. So emotionally, the player is dependent on the therapist. Physically, the player is dependent on the therapist. The player feels comfortable if the therapist is around. So, a lot of hard work goes into being a good sports physiotherapist.
Sorry, Tariq, now with this particular thing, I know that you are doing a fantastic work on the development of physiotherapists overall. So what are the roles you are doing at the grassroots, at the higher level, which creates awareness about this particular field among the youngsters, among other areas? Like what are physio, like for example, which you are leading at this moment of time?
That's a good question, Bhushan. So just trying to introduce the field. So we're not only looking at physiotherapists, we have a lot of patients who come with their children. So there could be someone as young as 17 or 18-year-old, and there's a lot of trust that they build up because normally the patients work with us on a day-to-day basis, and we're talking with the family, we get to know their personal lives a little bit, and we invite the children over. They're 17 and 18, and normally you see 17 and 18-year-olds are seen sitting in cafes or on the katta, and they're kind of having a good time with friends, and we say, why don't you do something constructive and come and observe? So whether you're in arts or you're in commerce, or you are not doing anything, you're really taking a year's sabbatical to try something new. We say come to our clinic and see what does a sports physiotherapist do, and that has given us a fantastic response. A lot of children because of this are getting interested or excited with the prospects in sports physiotherapy. So that is one important step we have taken in both our units, that we try and expose to the young minds that this is what actually a sports physiotherapist does.
What are the myths of physiotherapy? Like what people have some conception, like when we used to play, not at the good level. So when we have an injury, then we remember a doctor.
Okay.
So it's that way.
Yeah.
It is that it is actually a mindset. But
Yes.
actually later on when we started playing in the international level, we understood that's not the way of going to a physio. It's like before you should go it.
Yes.
So there are myths in many ways.
Yes.
So can you just explain on that? Give a light on that.
So this has been very interesting. I had gone to I had met someone from the Cricket Association, Indian Cricket, and the moment he saw me and met me, and he said, "नहीं नहीं आप नहीं चाहिए, आपको देखेगा तो प्लेयर को इंजरी होएगा." Or what he tried to say was the players get dependent on the physio, so might as well not have you around. So it will be so the player can focus, and if he is injured, he or she will manage themselves. So that was the mindset then, that with you around, a lot of players would unnecessarily have injuries. So that was one big myth that's still a challenge sometimes with so many team sports and individual sports, where we try to get across to coaches that that is not the case. But fortunately now, in the recent years, it is quite changed, and right from professional sport to a normal 5 kilometer marathon, physios are become an integral part of especially sports physios of these events. So that was one myth I have always faced, not many more.
Many times what I have seen is the biggest problem is of, or you can provide a big light on this, is what is flat foot and what are the measures to be taken? Because flat foot, which I always feel, even I was interviewing Deepa Karmakar, last edition which you saw, she's also flat foot, and flat foot is like when you can't jump and all those things, but she is the best in the world, right? So even having a flat foot, she is the best in the world. But there are many people who feel flat foot means you are done. You can't play sport. So many parents has this, which I want through this, it will reach out to millions of people.
Yes.
I want them to know that if your person is a flat foot, that doesn't mean the sport is over.
Absolutely not.
And what is flat foot? That is what I want actually to go this message. What is flat foot? And even if a person is a flat foot, what are the things to be taken care of?
So I can probably draw an analogy here. So flat foot is something like cellulite. Cellulite is a term coined by the industry, by the fashion industry, especially for women. So post pregnancy or during certain phases of life, you put on a little extra fat. So one of the fashion magazines, started calling it cellulite, and it sort of became a disease. So the same thing has happened with flat feet. There is, I do not. It's just a way of describing. It's a new term coined. So I have had professional athletes at the top level, where the feet are absolutely straight line. There is no arch, but they're playing top level sport, just as you mentioned. Ms. Deepa Karmakar was the best in her field, So there's a lot of myths and misconception about flat feet, and there are insoles and there are tapes and there are different kinds of shoes, um, and the expenses going through the roof. But we we do not treat any term as flat feet. We do not say that there is something like a flat feet. All we say is either you have weak feet or you have strong feet.
That's the best way to keep it.
I think that's about
That's
it.
the best way.
Yes.
There's a trend right now of running marathons bare feet.
G.
So what is your take on
Running marathons bare feet. If the roads are clean, I do not see any harm in that. But again, any activity I start, I should be doing it from a very young age. A lot of people do not know this. So Mr. Milind Soman is responsible for bringing in bare feet running, but he's a swimming champ, he's a running champ from a very young age. So when I start bare feet running or calisthenic exercises or very aggressive exercises late in life, my chances of wear and tear are high.
It's nowadays yoga therapy concept is coming up. What is the difference between these two therapies? And which one is beneficial for players? Your name?
Mrs. Kai, Vandana Kai.
So Vandana's question, if I may repeat it, Vandana, is there is yoga therapy and physical therapy. So what is the difference?
Yeah, what is the difference and which one is the beneficial for a player, I mean the sports person?
So I think there are a lot of therapies. Yoga is a lifestyle in itself. It is 3,000 years plus, and it really helps players in many ways. Tai Chi helps players. Physical therapy helps players. Acupuncture, acupressure. So worldwide, whatever different therapies have been there, a player would always need a combination of allopathic medicine, Ayurvedic treatment. So it's always a combination of things together. That is what helps players the best. Does it answer it, Vandana?
Yes, thank you.
Most well.
How important is nutrition and for day to day as well as for top athletes? Like there are many good athletes who have come here today, and it's a day to day for everyone, but as well as for the top athletes. Like how it has been planned.
So starting with athletes, I think nutrition is 80 to 85% of what and how an athlete will behave on and off field. It is extremely crucial a block in an athlete's personality. How they behave physically and how emotionally they behave, a lot is decided by food, what they eat, and how they eat, in what quantities they eat, what time they eat. So all good athletes I have come across, they cook their own food. They understand what they're eating, why they're eating, and when they're eating. So they're very well educated, very well informed about their food. You will never see good athletes eat bad food.
How hydration? Like hydration is the bigger topic in physiotherapy, I guess. So can you provide a light on that, because hydration is something which is required for cramps. What she rightly said. Many of the kids, when they play a match, they forget to sip water or do something. So actually, how to be taken care of, like while in the match, as well as in the training session, because it's a habit which to be taken care in the matches.
True.
So how to lead that?
So we did something very interesting. We had a weighing scale on the ground. So the athletes would wear their clothes, stand on the scale, pre-match, post-match. What we realized is athletes were 3.5 to 4 kgs lighter after the match. So that's the amount of water.
Which sport you are referring?
Football.
Okay.
But I think that's the case with most sports, whether it is table tennis, it might be, if I'm guessing right now, this is guesswork, it would be easily 2 kgs or 3 kgs of water, even goes off in air conditioned atmospheres, because you're sweating and each one sweats at a different intensity. So the best way to monitor is to weigh the person pre and post match. Number two, as an athlete, we had a rule that you can never be found without a water bottle in your hand.
That's a rule.
Because given a chance, if we give a bottle to everyone here, each one would want to at least take a sip.
Okay.
So there goes this.
You said that the person is writing. You said that most of the teams spend time in cafe and kattas with friends. But is it wrong if we want to make our mind fresh?
Manasvi's question is it wrong for teenagers or younger people to sit in cafes or on the kattas, as I said? No, it is absolutely not wrong, Manasvi. Please sit on the katta. It's a social skill. Please sit in a cafe. My concern was the timing. So I also know teens who get in at 10 o'clock in the morning and come out in the evening on a daily basis because they're not there in college or simply put, they're waiting away time. So that is what becomes a concern, that those are the formative years where I believe good mentorship can make the difference between a very smooth lifestyle to a very confused lifestyle. So those are the years I feel, Manasvi, that you should be looking and searching, or someone should be helping you looking and searching as to what excites you in life. Do you understand, Manasvi, a little bit?
In my life is there are two type of players.
Mhm.
One is dedicated and one are devoted. Dedication means you give what you have, your time, your energy, and everything. Devotion means you give yourself. So the time when the time comes, you start giving yourself. Then the champions are born. So even if you are sitting in katta and you are going and practicing and coming back, it's okay. But the day you will realize that I want to do something different in my life, and then you become devoted, and then the champions are born. So I think that is
It's
it's
a nice way of putting it, yeah.
it's a circle around.
Yes.
There is an addition to that is getting aggressive or angry during any game events is good or bad for players.
I think that's again a very good question. These are good questions coming from all of you young
Very nice.
people. Yeah? I think it's a part of sport. Bhushan has already answered it in one simple line. It's all right to be angry. It's all right to get aggressive. I always say it's all right to be angry and aggressive, but it is not right. It is not right to be disrespectful. So I think you learn with the sport with time. How do you channel your anger?
Correct. Channelizing.
And channelizing it the right way without affecting you in the long run. So again, as he put it, it's okay. Get angry, don't be disrespectful, and you will learn with your own journey how do you channelize it.
Adding to what Tariq just said, in table tennis, when a kid asks this question, I always say there's a table and there's a net. This side of the net, you should get angry, not that side of the net. So if you're getting this side of the net angry, it is with the angriness is between you. You want to fight. But the moment this anger goes to that side of the net, then it is wrong. So understand that fine difference. That is enough to understand.
Just adding on to that, this is what practical experience, what Bhushan is sharing. This is what practical experience is. So from his own journey, and he's played top level table tennis. From his own journey, he's found out such a beautiful analogy that keep it on this side of the net and not that side of the net. So, thank you. This is something I also learned now. Yes.
And the last question from someone, why people mostly prefer, this question consistently comes basically, why people mostly prefer studies more than sports? Whose question was that? Can you please tell me your name, please?
My name is Shweta.
Okay.
Actually, I wanted to ask that mostly people say that don't give much time to sports, you must give much time to studies.
Correct.
So why this kind of mentality is there?
Okay. Your call.
She's putting me in a spot now. Sit there. Um, so this is what I have learned in my life practically. Um, so conventionally, it was as a therapist when I finished my graduation. I was told, Tariq, join a clinic or a hospital, and it's safe and secure, and it's comfortable, it's safe, secure. You go at 9, you come back at 5. It's a known territory. But when you venture out to do sports, it's an unknown territory. You're probably hired day 1, you're fired day 5. So I think a lot of parents, of course, everyone wants to keep their children secure, and studies is one way in a developing nation like ours, where it can land you a job or it can land you a decent lifestyle. So I see a lot of parents counseling children to study hard and get good marks and grades, and and secure themselves in life with some kind of job. Um, I did not choose that path. I was average in studies. I was decent at sports. I would not say I was great at sports. Bhushan is good at and great at sports. And I think both of us, since we know each other for a decade, have done decent for ourselves. So it's a practical example in front of you. He's doing phenomenally well now and giving back to the society at such a young age. Um, I am relatively slow and steady pace growing myself with a very good team forming. So um, again, your personal journey. If you have the courage to stand on your feet and face a lot of insecurities, go for it. But your decisions, your consequences, and normally, on a positive note, they are very rewarding.
Now, one very important question from me only. How important is sleep and for good recovery of mind and body? Now, this is a very important question for every person also and as well as for top athletes. How important is sleep?
Um, to me, sleep is equal to recovery. I think the single most important. Of course, there are other variables again, but sleep has always been a big topic of discussion because a majority of athletes and normal people are sleep deprived. The mobile has played a huge part. In our days, the TV used to play a part. Um, so somehow, over the generations, people have developed habits of sleeping later and getting up late. Especially in context with an athlete, not to make it sound very rigid, but there has to be a schedule when it comes to performance. It has to be a habit where someone very positively goes to sleep early, knowing that their body and mind needs to shut down. And on an average, we know that because athletes work physically a lot, their bodies would anyway need between 9 to 11 hours or even 10 hours of sleep, 12 hours of sleep rather. A lot of sports require the athletes to sleep 8 to 10 hours at night and another 2 hours in the afternoon, depending on how physically challenging the sport is. So that's one area where a lot of, again, research is coming in. There are a lot of modules and techniques and gadgets that have come in which will help monitor sleep. So the question is, can regional foods, homemade foods help children recover? Do they need supplementation? So ideally, athletes, the blood work is checked, the blood work is done and found out that what is the level of minerals and vitamins and proteins and water in their body. And then we decide what kind of nutritional supplements would they be requiring. By supplementation, we do not mean something that is made in the factory. By supplementation, we mean by supplementing with normal food. I am someone who's in favor of natural foods. I have seen a lot of athletes having trouble putting down protein powders or some capsules. They might get bloatedness, they might get gas.
You completely say no to powders.
I am completely anti powders, and anything that is made in a factory cannot be food for me. So even for that way, medicine, unless it's really, really important, I'm against popping pills. So natural food is my call.
Okay. So that is suffice your answer.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you.
That's fine. What will be your advice for schools in India for creating awareness at the grassroots level for in multiple, not only sports physio, but overall? Like, what is the type of schedules to be made? Which I think which you had some answers on that, which we discussed.
About creating, so schools creating awareness about health and fitness in general, Bhushan sir. Sports teachers are the models children look up to. So a huge responsibility comes on to sports teachers in mentoring, in guiding, in creating that space in a child's head that what is the reason or why is the reason that you should be exercising.
Correct.
So I think schools should be, I think schools are already paying a lot of attention towards getting better and better sports teachers, and you normally see the same sports teachers working with schools for a very long time, and now it has gotten more and more competitive with schools as well. I think there are events where schools interplay each other. That's been happening since our time also. So I think schools have already taken that initiative. I would only wish, I do not know what's the current scenario with schools, but we would wait for it used to be called the games period. So we would wait for it to come, and it would be very less. It would be once in 3 or 4 days, and one off, which would be converted into a game period. If children can get more access to sports every single day, I think that is what is something is needed, and probably schools are already doing that. But I think every school has to dedicate an hour of fitness for every child in the school. That is a must. The mobile has played a huge part. In our days, the TV used to play a part. So somehow, over the generations, people have developed habits of sleeping later and getting up late. Especially in context with an athlete, not to make it sound very rigid, but there has to be a schedule when it comes to performance. It has to be a habit where someone very positively goes to sleep early knowing that their body and mind needs to shut down.
Is it good to be disheartened after losing the game?
I think that's a natural response to be disheartened after losing a game. So be disheartened, be angry, be quiet, be happy after you win. And most importantly, what I always tell athletes is be respectful. That side of the net, you have to be respectful. All right? There are a lot of modules and techniques and gadgets that have come in which will help monitor sleep.
And the last question, what is your belief system? What pattern you follow to achieve your goals? And you want me to repeat it?
What is my belief system?
What is your belief system and what pattern you follow to achieve your goals? And that's all for me.
Aha. One, my belief system is which has kept things on an even keel for me. A lot was achieved before I was born. So that keeps my head on my shoulders. So I, like an athlete, I have good days and bad days, but that keeps my head on my shoulders. So that is my belief system. As far as my goals go, so whatever goal I have set as this needs to be achieved, I just start sprinkling positive energy around it. This will happen. It will take its time, Tariq. Be patient, but this will happen. So that is what helps me go through the small ups and downs in life. Touch wood, life's been kind and random and it's been smooth, but I think just being positive with people and staying around positive people, that's what's helped me a lot in life.
So if I put it across, you have a lot of faith in yourself and you have patience also.
Yes. Putting it in a nutshell, I have faith in myself that with humility, that things will work out, it will take time. So you have to be patient.
You have to.
You have to be patient.
Thank you so much, Tariq.
Thank you so much again.
We have a small token of appreciation for you.